This morning's guest wants to draw you into his world. Who is he? You'll meet him coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning with the South Carolina Civil War Museum, housed here in the Myrtle Beach Indoor Shooting Range. We're focused on cartoons, and we're visiting with the Myrtle Beach Herald's editorial cartoonist, Joe Ruisi. Good morning,
Good morning.
Joe. I've never said we're focused on cartoons before, even though you've been a guest on the show. That sounds interesting. Very exciting. Thank you for coming in. What about the Civil War Museum?
I find it fascinating.
The place is unbelievable. Yeah. And the indoor shooting range, we had the door open here, even at 7 a.m. They are firing away. Have you ever fired a gun?
Yes, I was in the military.
Oh, of course.
And
sure.
I have a couple guns, and now I'm inspired to come down.
Are you packing heat here?
Not right now.
Not right this minute. Not with a Hawaiian shirt on. Yeah. I love it. What a great way to kick off a Friday morning. Yeah. This indoor shooting range, and Ted Gregg was so kind to let us come in. This museum is amazing. You ought to think about doing some cartoons on the Civil War Museum.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, getting some fodder here.
I can get some information for the cartoon strip I do.
I see you actually do one there at ilovedixie.com.
That's right.
You've got a cartoon. What's that all about, Joe?
Well, I have a partner in Sewanee, Tennessee, and he's a real deep South Southerner. And he called me up one day, and he said, he looked at my website.
Oh, yeah.
And he said, even though you're from Buffalo, New York, I can tell you have the heart of a Southerner. And we just hit it off right there.
Yeah.
And he had an idea. He's a frustrated cartoonist. His name is Davis Malden.
Davis Malden.
Right.
Okay.
And there's some relationship with the
Malden family in South Carolina.
Yeah. And anyway, he always wanted to do a cartoon strip that was an answer to You Might Be a Redneck.
The Jeff Foxworthy
right.
thing. Yeah.
He wanted to say, you might be a Yankee. But then we have to define the Yankee as not someone from the North. We don't want to offend anybody who comes down here with the heart of a Southerner.
That has your accent. Yeah.
But people who come down here and do continue the Reconstruction.
Right,
you know?
right.
So he has this little axe to grind, and I'm kind of in there with him in terms of my attitude towards this topic. And a lot of the things in this museum are inspiring, new ideas.
Yeah.
Things that we can talk about in this.
That is fascinating. Of course, we're not promoting ilovedixie.com,
no.
But as we say it, we obviously are. MyrtleBeachHerald.com is the place folks can go and check out a lot of your past cartoons, yes. As well as, of course, they can pick up a copy of the Herald. Even though this is a non-commercial show, we want to promote, pick up a copy of the Herald and check out the tremendous one that came out yesterday on Thursday, and, of course, the new one. Every week you come up with such fascinating topics, Joe.
Thank you.
Such fascinating topics. Obviously, a lot of them are city-specific to Myrtle Beach, and obviously you're doing it for the Myrtle Beach Herald, but some tremendous ones are statewide. Recently, you had a little debate going on between Lindsey Graham and Jim DeMint, and you'd highlighted that, and you've gotten quite a bit of recognition throughout the state. I think you've got some big fans, I understand, up in our capital city.
Yes, well, Lindsey Graham is not a big fan anymore.
He is not anymore. He was. That's right. That's right.
Maybe Jim DeMint.
Yeah, DeMint might be. Yeah, he got sidetracked last week, I understand, with his amendment there. But a lot going on in the South, and obviously a lot going on in the Myrtle Beach area. How do you normally come up with ideas, Joe?
Well, of course, I scour the papers.
Right.
Even other than the Herald.
Other than the Myrtle Beach Herald.
But, and I tell you the truth, it's like late in the afternoon, and I don't know what I'm going to be cartooning about.
Right.
But once I've decided on a topic, I just start drawing. And I come up with either a situation that is a funny sight gag, and then add some, then develop the words, or the other way around. Something that is being said or has been said by a prominent person that isn't really that, that's kind of ludicrous, which we all do. And take it from there and make up a cartoon about it.
I love the one you did 8 days ago that had Brad Dean on top of the sandcastle,
right.
Which was tremendous.
That was fun to do.
That was a great one, and obviously seeing him, folks need to check that out. Again, they can see it at MyrtleBeachHerald.com or obviously now, since the new issue came out yesterday, they wouldn't be able to see it in the stands, but they could see it if they went and visited the website. It's hilarious. I think Brad probably ran with that, enjoyed sending it up to Virginia Beach and saying, come get us, come get us.
Yeah.
You know, as you, when you think about it, early on in life, Joe, have you been cartooning for a long time?
Yes, yeah, it's kind of, it might sound a little silly to say age 3.5.
Age 3.5.
Yes, but back then, there were two things going on. One was the Depression. And, I like to talk to kids about this. Every once in a while I go
You dated yourself now,
Yes,
Joe.
that's right.
Okay.
I was 5 years old when they bombed Pearl Harbor.
Is that right?
And at age 3.5, the families, I'm a first-generation Italian. We lived in Buffalo, New York. And they used to, their entertainment was to go to each other's houses and play pinochle. And, of course, they dragged me around with them. And I had...
Drag Joe around. I love it.
And I was cross-eyed, had strabismus.
Is that right?
And I attribute that to my, I must have been really looking at things in order to see them. So I was pretty observant for a 3.5-year-old.
Yeah.
And they were marveled at the details of my drawing.
That's fascinating.
And,
my daughter had strabismus at 3.5 and wore a patch for a long time, and obviously corrected it as has yours.
Yeah.
Sure.
But the thing was that, as I like to tell kids when I'm talking to grade school children, we didn't have TV then. It was way before TV, and it was the entertainment. Playing pinochle. And there was no money for paper, so I used to take the old envelopes, from the mail,
right,
and open up the envelopes. Well, they'd do that for me and give me that paper, and that's what I draw. So that's how it started. And at the same time, they liked my singing. And I wound up singing at age 3.5 on the radio in Buffalo.
Oh, come on. In Buffalo, New York?
And Uncle Bill's talent show. Yeah.
Did you win something, Joe? Or
no, my father said he didn't buy enough postcards.
Aha, listen to that. Listen to that. That is hilarious. How long did you live in Buffalo, Joe?
Until I was age 16.
Is that right?
Right.
What prompted you to leave?
The Army.
Okay, sure. How was your service in the Army?
I really loved the military, the discipline and the purpose of it. I was and still am very patriotic about it.
How long were you in the Army?
Well, it was 3 years, and then that was during the Korean conflict, and it ended before I wound up going to Korea because they had the ceasefire. But I went to the University of Hartford and majored in fine arts painting on the GI Bill, on the Korean GI Bill.
That's tremendous.
And during that interim, I was trying to raise a family. I wound up working. I took a job as a full-time National Guardsman for another 3 years. So it was like being in the military for 6 years. But anyway, that was the extent of my military career.
Do you still have family in Buffalo?
Yes, I do. I have a couple of cousins.
Sure.
Not too many.
They come down.
I'm the
Myrtle
oldest.
Beach. Is that right?
Yeah.
Did you have brothers and sisters growing up?
I have a brother in Florida, and I have some siblings from second marriages. And, they're in California and Oregon and
spread out all over.
Yeah.
Do you ever cartoon family members, Joe?
That's funny. I don't think I ever have.
Really?
Everybody else, but perhaps now and then.
Ever cartooned your parents?
No.
Never.
Because when I was getting serious about really doing representative cartoon people, I was emulating Al Cap and Lil Abner. I was really doing that kind of drawing.
Sure. So you never have cartooned a family member?
No, isn't that something?
That is. How about your wife?
Yes, I have.
Aha, there we go. Well, that's family.
She smiles a lot.
I bet. That's right. She is a great smiler. That's right. Absolutely. Well, when you think about it, of course, are there some situations you really like to? Obviously, we talked a little bit about Dixie and the I Love Dixie, or the column you've got there. I mean, the cartoon you've got there. But are there some scenarios you really like to focus on? Any genres in particular that you really enjoy?
Well, what I really enjoy doing is making kind-hearted fun at local politicians. And it really is kind-hearted. I don't want to get nasty about it, but I like doing their likenesses because I know they like seeing themselves in the cartoon.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting.
They do. As I've met them, they've really appreciated it.
Except for Lindsey Graham.
Except for Lindsey Graham and
there's
one
a
or
couple
two
others that your kind-hearted approach has not been well received. Yeah, sometimes those can be. I've seen some funny ones there. over in Conway in different folks' offices. So well spread around. And why do you think there are not more editorial cartoonists around the state? I think we were talking about that before we started filming. Robert Ariel, who's very popular, who's at the State there in Columbia, and a couple other folks, maybe one at the Post and Courier. Obviously, there's 17 daily newspapers in the state, 80 weeklies like our own. And to think there's really only a handful of y'all. Why do you think that is?
Well, this is mostly my own opinion, but it's based on fact, and that is that the newspaper business in general, aside from the successes of the Myrtle Beach Herald.
Say it again. Here we are. Got a sponsor here, right here. Yeah.
Have been declining in readership.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just like in business in general. In the past, people, I think, foolishly would cut back on their advertising, and in order to save money. And in the editorial cartooning business, cartoonists are syndicated. And it's less expensive for them to buy syndicated cartoons than to have their own cartoonist.
Right.
So many cartoonists, I mean, there are lots of them out there, and they're really excellent, super cartoonists out there. But many of them have lost their jobs just because of that. So, they find other ways, and a lot of them have gotten online and found other venues for their cartoons.
That's very interesting. Of course, when you think about some of your topics that are regional or even statewide in scope, there's probably a lot of folks that would love to pick that up. We ought to look into that, Joe.
Yeah.
Spreading that around the state, because you surely have a following here locally, and I'm sorry, more papers don't do that.
That's nice to hear.
Yeah, very definitely, very definitely. And of course, your Hawaiian shirt on a Friday morning is a great way to kick things off. Have you always been kind of relaxed like that?
No. Because there was an interim when I was in business, and I was the three-piece suit type. And I didn't. It isn't as though I didn't enjoy that. I liked being dressed, and it was such a departure from my beginnings. But so I was very meticulous about how I dressed. Now I just like to be relaxed, and
take it easy. Yeah. You and Cindy have taken some trips recently supporting folks outside of America, right? Haven't you all been on some recent mission trips?
A year ago, I wrote an article for the Herald.
Yeah, I remember, sure.
We did it again this past month in May.
Is that right? Yeah, where'd you all go?
Ensenada, Mexico. And we built this little house for a Mexican family.
Right.
And their poverty is, it's severe third world country poverty. If it's summertime, it flies and all. I mean, it's really. I'm trying to give people a picture of this. Dirt floor, rags, and cardboard and sticks is what they have for a shack to live in. And they must have 2 children and an income less than $70 a week. So we show up in the Baja Peninsula, and at first they look at us a little suspiciously, but they know what's coming.
Right.
And they have a slab prepared, and we build a house in 2 days.
Is that right?
A little house, but it's a neat little house, and we furnish it, paint it, and make it look beautiful. And
is that right? That's tremendous. We had the mission leader from Constructores para Cristo, who was with us last Monday on the show. Of course, Sherry, our producer, was in Piedras Negras last week with the group from First Presbyterian Church building their 22nd, and they're building their 23rd home. They finished today, their 23rd home here on Friday the 15th. And of course, the excitement for them, they're in a little community that's built, they've done 500 homes. But Bubba Lewis was with us last Monday talking about that experience, the mission leader of these all block homes with no running water or anything, but going from being, as you say, from vans or cardboard boxes into whatever you all do must be incredible.
And this is Risen Christ Lutheran Church.
Okay.
It's the church, is my church.
Right, sure.
We sponsor it.
That is wonderful, Joe.